Hello, how's everyone? Welcome to our live online training. My name is Brian, and we're going to get going in just a moment or two. I'll just give everyone a couple of moments to find their seats with these lives. It takes people just a moment or two to join in. So if you're already joined, feel free to say hello in the chat. Whether you're joining us we're going out live on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and we're on LinkedIn live as well. So I should be able to see all the chats across all the platforms. So if you are joining us live, please do say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from, and let me know what the weather is like where you are. It's a beautiful sunny day in Ashtown in Dublin. I'm beside the Phoenix Park here, and the weather is fantastic. Love beautiful autumn day, not a cloud in the sky. Bit nippy now, mind you, but it's a beautiful day. So pop something into the chat there, and hopefully I'll be able to see it. And let me know you can hear me okay. And we're going to get going in just one moment or so. Okay, fantastic. I'm starting to see a chat or two coming in, which is great. Hello from Dublin, fellow Dubliner there. How are you doing? Sound is perfect. Okay, excellent. Thank you for letting me know that. If anyone else wants to let me know, that would be great. Let me know where you're tuning in from, because I know we have a few different locations represented based on the sign-ups. So do let me know where you're tuning in from. Okay, numbers starting to build up, which is fantastic. Oh, hi, Christy. I know Christy's over in Galway. So we've got Galway represented as well. I see Limerick in there. I see London in there. Fantastic. Great to have so many people and places represented. I'm seeing some familiar names in there as well, which is great, and some new followers as well. So let's kick on, shall we? I'll kind of introduce myself first of all. So hello and welcome everyone. So my name is Brian. I'm the founder of the Workwell community, and I'm course director for the postgraduate certificate in workplace wellness at Tangent. That's in Trinity College in Dublin. So today I'm going to show you how to gain greater engagement, results, and health outcomes for your team by embedding a culture of health in your company. So I've already helped many people like you by introducing them to the framework that I'm going to show you today, and I can certainly help you too. So I'll introduce you to the steps today. Now make sure you hang on to the very end of our session, because I'll also show you how you can dive deeper and implement these steps with all the support that you'll need. How does that sound? Are we in the right place? Fantastic. I see Tala represented as well, just popping up there. So thanks everyone for saying hello in the chat. How does that sound? Let me know. Are we good? Are we good to go? Great stuff. I'm seeing lots of comments come in. So thank you guys for that. Now I've got some slides to share. So let me pop these up and we'll get started here. Okay, so if at any stage you can't see or hear me, just let me know. Okay, now, so the only bad news, I want to start with the bad news first, because the only bad news is you won't get to see that jacket again today, unfortunately. So that is the only bad news from the session today. It's all positive news apart from that. We won't see that jacket again, though, unfortunately. Okay. So hello, as I mentioned, lots of different nationalities tuning in. So why are we here? I've kind of introduced that. We want to embed a culture of health. So if you're looking for a quick fix, something overnight that you can do overnight, to be honest with you, you're in the wrong place. This is a long-term investment. This is about building a culture. This is about investing time in this. This is a strategic approach. It's not a quick fix solution. So that's why we're here today. I get a lot of questions on this. Okay, so I've got a community of almost 4,000 members, the Workwell community. And here are the most common questions. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you are tuning in today because you have these kind of similar questions. So maybe you don't know where to start with well-being at your workplace. Maybe you've got no budget, so you feel like that's a barrier. Maybe you feel like you're blocked by leadership because there's no support for what you're trying to do. Maybe you've tried a few bits and pieces, but there's been, poor or little to no engagement with what you've been trying. So let me know in the chat, are these any of your concerns? And if they are, you're in the right place, because we'll talk about these, or these 8 steps at least, just by default almost should answer these and kind of direct you where to go. And as I said, these are the most common questions that we get in the community. So if you can relate to any of these, you're in the right place. So they're kind of some of the questions you might have. Okay, what are the benefits? So let's say you do invest the time and you step through this 8-step framework. What are some of the benefits you can expect if you do it properly? And we're talking over time here. Again, I'm not talking overnight. At an organizational level, look, healthier people they're more engaged, they're more productive. Imagine the customer satisfaction scores if people are working for an employer that genuinely demonstrates they care about the health and well-being of their people. Imagine those sat scores and how good that is for the image of the company. That trickles down to talent attraction. Then people hear, word of mouth is so powerful. They hear this is an employer that genuinely cares about their health and well-being. I want to work in that company. Same is true for retention. Your people are more likely to stay if they feel their health and well-being concerns are being looked after. And over time, again, it's going to healthier people are absent less. It's just one of the benefits. Again, I could have gone into more detail on that. I could go into more detail on the individual benefits as well, but I think these are kind of powerful enough on their own. These 4. If you're surrounded, we're talking about the culture of health here, remember, if you're surrounded by an environment that is just naturally leans towards kind of healthier nudges, like healthier food in the canteen, or your colleagues are getting out for a walk at lunchtime, those behaviors become your behaviors. And over time, your health behaviors turn into outcomes, become healthy. If we're living and breathing, if we're walking every day, if we're eating better every day, that's a health outcome. That's going to lead to positive health outcome in the long term. Purpose. If we're working for an employer that genuinely cares, and we know genuinely cares about our health and well-being, that's going to give us a real purpose coming to work, a real purpose and a loyalty coming to work as well. And then the all-important balance. So work all of a sudden is no longer this, negative place to go to. It's not an unhealthy place to go to. It's certainly not a toxic place to go to. So we have that work-life balance, or whatever you want to call that. Work isn't an unhealthy place to go. It's a place that supports our health and well-being as opposed to impacts it. Okay, just some of the benefits there. Again, at any stage, I need to pop back into a different screen to see if there's any comments. So, but if there's any comments at any stage, I'll be popping back regularly. So please do let me know if you have any comments or questions at any stage. So, good news with all of this, with your concerns, with the questions, with the benefits, is I can help with this. So I just like this quote from my friends at a Great Place to Work. We co-hosted an event there very recently. So the guys at Great Place to Work were saying, look, we create awareness about trust and about kind of respect and building awareness within companies. Whereas Brian helps those with the conscience. So you've got to want to do this to implement a successful project to transform the company. So I can help you. These 8 steps I'm going to introduce to you today can help you. Again, a couple of concerns to address. Look, I've covered a bit here already. Looks too good to be true. I hear that quite often. I don't have budget for that. They're probably the 2 biggest ones. Can you think of any more? Again, let me know in the chat. Any concerns? I want to address these and tackle these head on. Again, I think we'll talk through these in the 8 steps, but it looks too good to be true. Yeah, if you're talking about a quick fix overnight, it is absolutely too good to be true. This is a time investment, your 8 steps. This is a process, as opposed to just what I see a lot of companies doing is investing in random acts of wellness after the other. So this is a process, this is a strategic approach, and it is not too good to be true if you invest the time. Budget, you don't need a budget for this. Certainly don't need a massive budget, small amount potentially, but you can do this without a budget. We're talking about building a culture of health. A culture is behaviors, it's actions, it's norms. You don't need a budget for that. That's, behaviors are what people do in your workplace every single day. So you do not need a budget for that. Okay. Excellent. Now, the 8 steps. So we'll look at the 8 steps. Think of these 8 steps as plates in the air. So it's not like a typical waterfall model where you finish step one, great, finished with that, never need to go back to that. I'm on to step two now. These 8 steps are like plates in the air. They're consistently spinning. You might be spending time on 1 or 2 plates, given depending on where you are, more than others at any one time. But the 8 plates will always be spinning. It's a continuous improvement process. So think of it like sales. You're never finished with your sale. Your sales department is never finished. This is great. We're finished sales now. We can finish with that for the year. Or we're finished marketing. We're finished with marketing for the year. It's not like that. It's a continuous improvement process. So think of the 8 steps like that. Now, question for you guys. It's an 8-step framework. What step am I going to start with? I'm going to start at step number 5, of course. Step number 5. Why am I starting at step number 5? Would anyone like to hazard a guess? Why am I starting at step number 5? Well, I'm starting at step number 5 because, to be honest, this is unfortunately where the vast majority of organizations that I work with, that I encounter, this is where they spend most, if not all, of their time. They certainly start here, but they also finish here, and they just spend all their time here. So what do I mean by an intervention? An intervention could be anything from a bowl of fruit, a yoga class, it could be a workshop, it could be a mental health week, a week of interventions related to mental health. It could be anything up to a policy, a flexible working policy. So the interventions are broad. It can be broad from small, medium to large, but they're all examples of interventions. And the vast majority of companies, very well intentioned, but they're spending most of their time in this random, this loop of random acts of wellness, and they're not making any improvements. They're not measuring anything. They're just not improving over time. So there's no real benefit for the company, and there's certainly no real benefit for the individual. So if there's only one thing you take away from the session today, it would be, let's get out of this endless loop of random acts of wellness, and let's put a bit of thought into what we're doing, put a bit of planning, a bit of prep. And if you do the 8 steps properly, you'll find that the interventions will almost be choosing themselves. So it removes the human bias. Whereas, we're very well intentioned, but we think, okay, my colleagues I'm sure they'd like this. I'm going to get somebody in to talk about X. But we just want to kind of try and remove that human element and make it look, what do our colleagues actually want here? What will do them a service? What will impact our high level goals, well-being goals here? So that's an important point to note. Any thoughts on this before I move on? Yeah, thanks, Rob. So you got to know, Rob's just saying that you got to know what you want to do before you start. Exactly. So in other words, we're coming in with a bias. We're coming in thinking there's a lot of smokers in my workplace. We need a smoking cessation policy or a program without even asking. I mean, how many smokers have you asked? Have you asked your smokers, do you want to quit smoking? Number one. Number two, do you want to engage in a program? You got to sit in a room with all your colleagues and talk about giving up smoking. A lot of people don't want to do that in front of their colleagues. So there's a lot more to it than just, being well-intentioned and setting up a program. And thanks for that, Rob. Okay, let's move on. So step number 1, the real step number 1. We have 8 steps today. I'm conscious of your time, so I'm not going to, I can't go into detail on each one, but I do want to spend a bit of time on this step because it's a foundational step in the framework. And look at the language I've used here as well. Grow, committed, and aligned leadership. Okay, so grow, it's a verb. It's not just a one-off action. This is a process that takes time. We're not just asking a question and then run. And if we don't get a no, then that's it. It's over. This is a process. This is relationship building. This is about building connections. This is about building understanding and knowledge of what well-being is and what we're trying to do. So this is a process, and this takes time, and it's a really important step. So, nice little image there. Okay, so why? I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek, by the way. So you might notice some references to Simon's golden circle. So the golden circle, he starts in, if you've seen it, the golden circle in the center is why. Start with why. Understand why you're doing something. And what's the reason behind why we're doing this? Why is it important, and why do we care about it? Then we'll jump ahead to the outside of the circle, to the what. What does this look like in an ideal scenario? And then we'll take a step back and look at the how, and how this might, how we might introduce this in our workplace. So starting with why do we care about committed and aligned leadership to workplace well-being? Why would we care about that? Let me know any thoughts. I think it's, I'm hoping it's fairly clear that, if we have management support and participation, that's going to increase the employee participation and the overall program success. But not only that, and perhaps the most important point is, it comes down to just leading by example. So leaders modeling healthy behaviors over time, that's the foundation for a culture of health. Because I've said it already, a culture is actions and behaviors. It's the norms of a workplace. So imagine you start in a workplace on on a Monday morning, and you see the senior leaders in there getting up at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock with a gym bag to go to the gym, or just getting out for a walk at lunchtime or a run at lunchtime, whatever the case may be. Maybe they're bringing in a healthy lunch and they're sharing it with colleagues. And if you see that repeated over time, when you're thinking to yourself, okay, this is the type of workplace where that's normal. That's just the way it happens around here, kind of thing. And you'll probably fall into that in some shape or form yourself, whatever your preferences are. But imagine the flip side then. You're starting a new workplace on a Monday morning, and people barely say hello to you. You struggle to find out where you need to go for X, Y, and Z. At lunchtime, everyone just has their head down on their own at their computer, just eating a quick sandwich or whatever, an unhealthy kind of lunch, and rushing off to the next meeting. No one kind of communally eating, chatting, no one getting out for a walk or anything like that. That kind of idea. Yeah, Christy's making a really good point there. Thanks for sharing, Christy. So creating a healthy workplace, strategic decision, leadership at every level, and it's a state of mind for everything that is done. Absolutely, yeah. It filters down all the way through. It really does. And it can be as simple as what I like seeing. I just saw an example recently. I thought it was a nice one, where this leader would arguably, you would say, previously tough, old school, hardly taking any leave, not taking any breaks, this kind of idea, close to burnout during the pandemic, and just having a chat with a lot of people, making connections, really kind of reassess things over the course of the pandemic, and just decided, and I spoke to a few people about this, but decided to, look, I've built up a lot of annual leave here, need to spend some time with the kids, need to take a break from work, and to do it properly. So he built up a lot of annual leave, took 5 weeks of annual leave, but it wasn't just taking the leave. He kind of spoke about taking the leave and the importance of taking the leave, and kind of celebrating taking 5 weeks of annual leave so he could wind down, so he could de-stress, so he can completely take a break to look after his health, his physical health and his mental health. So we spoke about that to colleagues and the importance of it, and it was huge. And people kind of, okay, that's great to hear that. It wasn't the norm before, but now this is something I think we should all be looking to do. We should all be kind of taking this kind of a break as well. So that's leadership. That's how you create that culture of health. So that's our why, if you like, our why statement. And we can jump ahead to the what, and there's a bit of research. And if you do go on, if you hang on to the end, I'll talk about the kind of the online program that we have, the deeper dive, if you like, where we go into detail on a lot on the research. Here's just one of the papers we look at from Title all the way back in 2008. But so what does it look like? It's their visible advocacy. So they're just talking about it. They're exuding it. It's at the all hands, in the newsletters, in any training courses, and just any conversations. Their visible advocacy, and of course, definitely their program participation, no matter what it is. And then it's their support as well. So allocation of dedicated resources, be that financial, it doesn't have to be financial. It might be time. I always argue that time is a lot more important than budget. So somebody's time, maybe it's a person, maybe it's a team of wellbeing champions. So the allocation of time and resources to health promotion programming. Now, so that's the what. We've jumped ahead to the what. Let's pull it back. So if I mentioned it was a process, so this is easier said than done because every workplace is very, very different. Some, I think a lot more than previously would have been the case over the last 18 months. A lot more, I think, you'd be kind of pushing an open door almost when you're going to them now these days. Wasn't always the case, and it isn't always the case for every organization. So this process will be different. It'll need to be tweaked, but you'll know your organization better than anyone else. But here are 4 steps that I have found through thanks to feedback from the 4,000 members in the community that seems to work best over time if you can invest this time in it. So let's take a look at these. So how do you go about growing this committed and aligned leadership? That's what it is, and getting them bought in on your well-being plan. So, well, number 1, know the audience. So know your leadership team. Try and get to know them over time. What are their needs and wants? What are they interested in? I'd be surprised if you didn't have at least one member of the leadership team that just has an interest in some shape or form in health and well-being, be it eating, is it cooking, is it running or some physical activity, just a gateway in, if you like, to get their buy-in and just build a relationship with them on that. And maybe you start small with some initiatives based around their particular interest area, but that can always be a useful way in. But equally as important then is understand the business goals. So at a strategic level, what's your business, what's your organization's vision and values? Just get that documented down, take it down, have that in front of you, and understand this is what my leadership team are working towards every single day. So just have that, hold that now for a second. So just make sure you understand that's clear of what they're working towards. So you want to work towards that as well with your well-being, whatever you're planning from a well-being perspective. Then you want to go out and gather some evidence and demonstrate need. So gathering evidence, that could be, well, number 1, you definitely need evidence internally. So you want to be gathering needs and wants from your colleagues. You want to be gathering, there's plenty of evidence out there. And if you do the course with us, I reference there's lots of evidence emerging, especially over the last 10 years on healthy workplaces, what constitutes healthy workplace programming. So maybe for your particular industry, you might find some interesting research. Healthy Ireland have some interesting research that I can share with you, and it's only from late 2018 as well, so it's very new. Lots of evidence out there. What an interesting one is, if you're getting leadership attention, is there anything the competition are doing? That's something that often makes the leadership team sit up. Okay, well, if the competition are doing it and they're having some success, I think we need to look at this. So there's your evidence and demonstrate need. So can you say, look here, our colleagues are looking for X, Y, and Z, and they've demonstrated in our most recent survey. So there's your evidence. So that the facts and the figures. Create a shared vision. So an important one here. So we have our business goals. We understand the vision and the values of the business from our step 1 here. And our third piece here is, can we align? So what we know now about the needs, and a bit more about the needs and wants of our organization, but what well-being means to our colleagues, what they're looking for. Can we kind of derive a well-being vision statement for our organization and align it to the business objectives? So that, in other words, by driving towards our well-being vision, we're actually driving towards the organization's vision as well. No better way to get your leadership team on board with what you're doing from a well-being perspective than that. Can you get a well-being vision statement? And there's great examples of companies that have got some really cool well-being vision statements out there. Yeah, living the mission statement, as Linda says. So can you derive a well-being vision statement from that? I've got great examples in the course with Johnson & Johnson, GameStop have an excellent one. They're all about They're all about kind of Yoda and Star Wars. They've kind of made it a fun one, but it's their business one is a kind of a fun one as well. It's GameStop. So kind of think of your own organization's vision and values, and how can you align that to what you're doing from a well-being perspective. Okay, and finally, then just on this mini 4-step process within one step, confirm the ask. So again, I see it so often, like, okay, we've got all this great information. We know we want to do this, but what exactly are we looking for here? Be very, very clear on what you're looking for. And sometimes it might just be, we just want time to almost do a little bit of a feasibility study here on well-being. Maybe if you're starting out, maybe that's the case. Maybe it's a little bigger than that. Maybe you want to try a few initiatives and gather some data around those initiatives and build to a full plan for next year. But just be clear, find out what you're looking for, exactly what it is, and kind of document that. So this 4 steps seems to work well over time. As I say, every organization is different. Every leadership team is different. So you'll know yourself, but important to say, and this question gets asked all the time, how do I get leadership involved? Here's your best bet. It's not a quick fix. It takes time, but it's this relationship building and gathering of evidence. This is how you do it. All based on the values. Yeah, you're aligning the organization's vision and values with the well-being vision and values. And any thoughts on this one? Yeah, Christy just saying there, a good point. Yeah, the CEO is not on board. It's a big struggle to sustain any initiative. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. If you can, yeah, maybe you can get in the door by someone on the leadership team that has an interest in health and well-being. But ultimately, it really needs to come from the top. Christy, you're absolutely right. So getting the CEO on board is absolutely huge. And then if it's their advocacy, then at the all hands events, the CEO's weekly newsletter, any training programs, just always mentioned. It's just there as a well-being check-in at the start of every meeting with the CEO. This kind of idea, that's just building that up over time. That's how you build out the culture. Okay, I think I've just got one more slide on. Oh no, yeah. I think this sums it up nicely. Just the fact that it's a process. Time at the bottom. So you're building awareness, understanding, buy-in, and commitment. So yeah, not a quick fix, but it's very much achievable. And then here's my final one. So Adam Grant, let me know if you've heard of Adam Grant. He's probably the world's leading organizational psychologist, and he has the second best workplace wellbeing podcast out there, if I do say so myself. Well, it's a pretty good one now. It's called Work Life. It's excellent. So Adam Grant, I love this. When he's asked a question, he's mentioned this a few times. How do I bring leadership with me on my wellbeing journey? How do I get them involved? And now it's complete oversimplification, but I think it just makes so much sense. It's so true. He says it's hard data. So it's your facts, your figures, the numbers, what are the competition doing? What does the evidence say? All of that, plus the human stories. And it can be human stories on the leadership team, but more importantly, maybe it can be human stories within our organization. What are interesting stories that are out there that our colleagues have been doing? And it doesn't have to be, running marathons. I mean, it can be, but it could be just very interesting stories. The couch to 5K equivalent. I always say we're targeting the majority as opposed to the minority. The majority of people are not running marathons. It's great if they are, and we can celebrate that. But I think the more relatable examples are, it's almost the couch to 5K equivalent. People who haven't been active in a long, long time. Maybe they're losing weight. Maybe they're just getting active. They're walking a 5K for the first time. That's more relatable than the marathon running. And it's the equivalent of that in the mental health space, in social well-being. It doesn't have to be physical. It's just a nice way to give an example. So hard data plus human stories. So just a question in from Annalise. Is it for HR professionals only? No, not necessarily. No, so I'll come to this later on, but not necessarily. It can be for, it's mostly aimed at people within an organization that can affect change within an organization, certainly. But I mean, people tuning in might be looking to work in an organization at a later date, or work with an organization in the future. But you definitely need some impact internally to be able to affect these changes, I would say. Yeah. But HR doesn't have to be HR. It can be any department within an organization. Okay, I'll move on. So that was spend a bit of detail on that one. I'm conscious of time now. I'll move on through these other steps. So step one is our leadership. It's the top level, but we need the grassroots involved as well. Equally as important is our grassroots. Why would you say so? Why are grassroots important? Why are grassroots important? Grassroots, or creating a team of wellbeing champions, if you like, is important because, and here's our why. So wellbeing should not be owned by one person or one group. Wellbeing needs to be a shared value across the organization. So back to the question, actually, I just received there about HR. A lot of companies now would have their wellbeing person or team sitting in the HR function. And an issue with that, or a major challenge with that, is a lot of people see the well-being, whatever you're doing from a well-being perspective, as, oh, here we go, it's just another HR initiative. So that can be a barrier to people engaging. So the way around that is, and it's just the way it should be done, no matter where your well-being leader or team sits, we don't want one person or one team to have full ownership of this. This should be a shared value across the organization. We want everyone to feel like they can input into the process, input into the well-being strategy, the well-being program, the well-being initiatives. And the way we can do that is through creating this team, a network, if you like, of well-being champions. So we might have a representative from each area who puts their hands up to be a well-being champion, a bit like you have a fire marshal on each floor. You've got a well-being champion on each floor. And you might give them some training courses and all that kind of stuff, but they volunteer. That's really important. And they're the local rep for that floor, for that, depend on how your organization is set up, for the floor, for the department, for the location. If you're spread over locations, you want diverse voices represented. You want parents and non-parents. Ideally, you'd like, if you have shift workers. I used to work in Vodafone. There's quite a few different role types in Vodafone. We had our office staff, the head office workers. We had our retail staff based on different shops across the country. We had the field force, the guys who looked after the network and were climbing the poles. And then we had sales teams, regional sales teams, but again, based all over the country, and mostly based out of their cars. So all very different role types. And the sales guy in Cork doesn't care less about the gym, the fancy shiny gym in HQ in Dublin. So what is he or she looking for? How are his or her views represented? So this is a great way to get feedback, to get their input into the process, understanding needs and wants, really getting buy-in. It's a great way actually as well. Get your well-being champions to input into the creating that vision statement. There's a really nice exercise I do in my wellbeing champion training. It's a what is wellbeing exercise with the wellbeing champions, understanding what wellbeing means to the champions. And we do a nice little whiteboard exercise, and we use, well, what words are kind of repeating here? What does wellbeing mean to our wellbeing champions in this company? And can we use some of that language then in our wellbeing vision statement, which aligns with the business vision statement? So a nice way to do it, nice way to get early buy-in to create that shared ownership for well-being across the organization. Is that making sense, guys? Let me know if I'm going too fast at any stage, or any questions at any time. So let's say you're going about doing this, how would you go about it? Questions to ask yourself: well, how will I create my team? Again, it depends on your organizations. How is it structured? What functions? What areas? And then what voices do you want represented? And we definitely want as diverse of a representation as possible. This will all depend on the size of your organization as well. People always ask what size of a team should I have? It depends on the size of your organization. I'd say once you've got a good spread of departments, locations, and voices, and there can be overlap as well. Like the person representing marketing also might be a parent and might be part-time. So representing the part-timers. So, you don't need 101 people in your 102 person organization to be on the champion team. Any questions on the champions before I move on? Moving on to step 3, so understanding our needs and wants. So if you'll notice, the first 3 steps, they're all people-based. So as I like to say, this framework is pandemic proof. This framework doesn't care if your staff are working at home, working in HQ, or working in a hub, because it takes their needs and wants, and what are the leaders looking for, what are your champions looking for, and what are the wider population looking for in step 3 here. What are they looking for? So it takes all the needs and wants, and it's flexible based around those needs and wants. So it's not stuck you're not stuck with the fancy gym in the head office, if you know what I mean. You're not just stuck with that as the only kind of investment throughout the years. Okay, so understanding needs and wants. Why should we collect data? I think I've kind of touched on this already. This is just a great way of understanding what are people looking for. It surprises me how often this question just isn't asked. And almost every organization will have a survey. I would imagine it's easy enough to get a few well-being questions in there. And over time, you can kind of mature the questions that you ask your well-being questions, but no better way to find out, well, what are you looking for here? We're considering running X, Y, and Z. Would you be interested in this? Is it physical activity you're interested in? Is it more mental health? Is it social connection? Is that what you're looking for? And based on the needs and wants, then you've got a better idea that can inform your decision-making further down the line. And again, if you do the course, we don't have time today, but if you do the course, we go into all the kind of the tools, the methods, the media that can be used to gather information, how you might go about it, the frequency, all that kind of stuff as well. But I think it kind of makes sense. You're just gathering information to inform your decision-making further down the line. I'm flying here, document an operating plan. So what you would do here is, this is your step this is where you get strategic. This is where, let's say most companies will have, an overall strategic plan, 2022 to 2025. Can you get well-being on that plan? Most organizations don't have it in there. They don't have. It's not at the level. It's random acts of wellness. So why would you stick that in your strategic operating plan? Which if you follow this process. And at step 4, we're going to draft an operating plan. So we're going to essentially document all the information we've gathered to date. We've got our well-being vision statement. It starts with that at the top of our well-being operating plan. We've got maybe a mission statement in there as well, well-being mission statement. We've got well-being champions identified. We've got the roles and responsibilities called out. We've got, so who's responsible here for all of this. Maybe further down the line, we'll be able to work out if there's a budget involved, if there's time requirements, meeting frequencies, strategic objectives. And based on, our first 3, and in particular, step number 3, we've identified high-level focus areas. So thanks to our surveys or whatever data gathering we're using, we've identified that we have a need for, there's an issue identified with stress in our workplace. So we've identified that stress is an issue. And in particular, let's say absences as a result of stress are on the rise year on year. So we want to do something about that. So a high level goal that we might identify in our strategic operating plan here might be, we want to reduce absences as a result of stress by 10% year on year for the next 3 years. So there's a SMART goal there. It's measurable. We have a timeline against it, and it's very clear, 10%. It's very clearly called out. So that will go in here. So all of a sudden, this is something now that can be plugged into an overall strategic plan. And if it gets on the strategic plan, it's on everyone's radar, particularly the leadership team as well. So you're getting very strategic here. You're getting it. You're documenting it at a high level. Yeah, great point there, Christy. Evidence and measurement of progress and impact is key to success of any plan. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so that's our operating plan and our why. So it's capturing those goals. So steps 1, 2, and 3 have been informing these. We've identified now high-level focus areas, which we're going to document for well-being at a strategic level. So I'll just take a pause here because we're step 4. We're halfway through the 8 steps, and I haven't even got to step 5, which is choosing the interventions. Haven't even got to step 5, where the vast majority of companies spend all of their time. So I just wanted to highlight that there. But look at the amount of work we've done, we've gathered. There's your key work. And by the time we get to step number 5, which is now choose the interventions, I'm not even going to spend any time on this now, because hopefully, we're going to, here's our why, we're going to align our workplace strategy with our values. Essentially what that means is we're just using steps 1 to 4 to inform what we're going to choose from an intervention point of view. So if taking that stress reduction by 10%, high level focus area example, maybe we'll say, okay, well, we know now, okay, stress. So we want some stress workshops in there. Maybe we want to partner with a mental health charity that might come in and over time give us some workshops in that area. Maybe that's a plan. Maybe that's something we can do. And maybe we can conduct some focus groups, some detailed focus groups at regular intervals to understand, is what we're doing having an impact? What would you like to see at a local level that would support kind of your stress and your support and maybe burnout levels, that kind of idea. So we're getting very strategic with this, and we're very well informed with our interventions. Moving on, so step number 6. Again, something I see so often is organizations have a really solid plan in place, really interesting initiatives and interventions, but no one in the organization knows about it, or at least half of them don't know about it, because they're not communicating about what they're doing. Maybe they haven't named the program. Naming the baby is often a good thing, something to hang your hat on, and tidying it all up under one umbrella, talking about it, letting people know how they can avail of what's on offer. And I won't go into huge detail, but here's something we cover in the course, and it's a really good white paper from Karen Kent back in 2016. And it's a big quote there, but I've highlighted it in blue. So here's some really important communications. Here's some of the things to highlight. What people want to know: how does the program work? Where do I sign up? And what's in it for me? Sometimes it's really simple stuff, but it's getting that out there. It's multi-channel. It's not just in the weekly, monthly Wellbeing newsletter, which hardly anybody reads, all the way down to the bottom. So we've got to get it multi-channel, find out where people are and where they're watching, and get it out there across a few different platforms. But that's really key as well. That's Karen Kent. Foster a supportive environment is step 7. An important one. This could easily have been step 0. This is such an important step. So imagine if you've done all the other steps, and you're bringing interventions in. You've got a fantastic, you've got wonderful yoga classes on. Everyone has a mindfulness app. Everyone has access to an excellent EAP program, but the environment itself just isn't set up to support. People are overworked. They're stressed. They're tired. They don't even have time to engage with anything you're providing. So this is where the overall environment is key. And there's overlap with a lot of our steps. And I think this is a great example of that, because you can see the top 2 are brand new. Again, this is from that same Karen Kent document, by the way, back in 2016. Steps 1 and 2 are new, that we're being introduced to them now, the environment. So the physical environment supports and social environment supports. But look all the way down here. Look at it on the left-hand side. So we've got leaders, managers, peers, and employee involvement. The people steps. That's our steps 1 to 3 there. Steps 1 to 3, which we've already covered. But that's where our supportive environment comes from. It's our people, the people around us, leadership, line managers, peers, employees, plus then the 2 that have been added here are the physical environment and the social supports. Is there opportunities for connections in our workplace, be that virtually or or in person. So that's the supportive environment that we're talking about. Again, always let me know any questions here. I'm conscious of everyone's time. I want to allow a little bit of time at the end to talk about if anyone has questions on the program and how they might avail of it. I've got a bit of an offer then as well if anyone's interested, a bit of a surprise. And we're at step 8. So not to be overlooked, definitely needs time. We want to evaluate, we want to celebrate, and we want to iterate. You know, in a funny way, I think this can often be an excellent place to start sometimes, just especially depending on who you're looking to attract or who's going to be signing off on what you're doing here. So from the evaluation perspective, fast forward 1 year from now, when you've got a presentation, you're talking about your well-being program and the initiatives. Who's going to be in that room? Number one. And number two, what are they expecting to see? Are they expecting to see like the bottom line, how what you've done from a well-being perspective has impacted on the company's bottom line? Because if they are, then you're going to need some show some financials there. How have we demonstrated we're having an impact on the bottom line? But maybe they're not interested in that. Maybe they're interested in the priority at the moment is talent attraction and retention. So working backwards, you're going to need all your kind of evaluation and metrics are going to be geared towards how do we track our talent attraction and retention here? Even before we get started, how do we track that so that we'll have the stats available in 1 year's time? And then, a third option might be maybe our employers, the people in the room genuinely care about the health and well-being of our colleagues. And maybe that'll make a nice PR story, but maybe we want to be able to track the health outcomes of our colleagues, and anonymized, of course, across the entire population. But maybe we want to show year on year that, look, our colleagues have just got that little bit healthier over time. They're healthier in year 1, a little bit healthier again in year 2. So maybe health outcomes of our population are something that we want to track. So we work backwards from that. What metrics do we need to use? And we can evaluate with that in mind then throughout the course of our program. Celebrate our successes. It's just another form of communication as well. Celebrate people, their stories. It's another way of sharing human stories. Get that out there. People that are comfortable doing so, of course. Share all that. Celebrate your successes. If you're taking part in whatever event it might be, if you're supporting whatever cause it might be, absolutely get it out there, share it, talk about it, get people involved and celebrate it. And then the final point is, as I mentioned, it's an iterative process. Review it. How can we improve? We did okay this year, but we can improve on this. Where do we need to improve? How can we iterate? And what can we change? Okay, there's our 8 steps. What are we thinking? And we're blown away by how impressive these are, I'm sure. So there they are in all their glory. 8 steps. 8 steps to embed a culture of health. Any questions on the 8 steps? Does it make sense? Does it flow properly, do you think? Any thoughts? Yeah, is it iterative? It's not a waterfall. So yeah, you need to, as I think I had a slide earlier you might have missed, but it needs to be, you might be spending time on 1 or 2 plates, if you like, 1 or 2 steps more than others. So there might be 1 or 2 steps. If you're starting out, it's probably the leadership step. Maybe you're starting the with the Wellbeing champions as well. It's often an early stage step. Quite often be spending quite a bit of time in there. And then step 3, it's always continuous, gathering meaningful data. You're often in there, depending on your organization. Maybe you're doing quarterly, 6 monthly, annual kind of steps. So it's important to just understand that, and that you're going to be spending different times at different stages in each of the steps. In time, I've seen some great comments coming in. Overlapping elements, Aoife. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Depends where you are and in your organization. You might be spending more time on one than the other. Yeah, absolutely. There's Christy. Yeah, culture is the major factor. If you go to any other kind of well-being workshop, people talking about this, they're probably kind of selling you the quick fix. We'll come in and we'll deliver some sessions and you'll be sorted, you'll be grand, you'll all be stress-free in a week. It's just not the way it is. Like it's culture building. It's embedding a culture of health is how you go about it. And the interventions, the nice workshops, the yoga, the bowl of fruit, all great stuff. But they come on top of the foundation. They're just nice little icing on top of the cake. The foundation is the culture at the bottom, and that's your long-term process. That's where you invest in, and you can build it. It is possible to build it. It takes time to build it, but you can do it. It can be done. Oh, yeah, good question. Linda's asking. Maybe I missed a part of your question there, Linda. Did I? But which companies are developing? Do you find it's only larger ones? Like okay, so the larger ones now, in terms of roles. So the great news is I'm seeing lots of roles emerging. It's really It's not quite the flood yet, but there are lots of roles emerging, and it's a trickle now. But I mean, 12 months time, 18 months time, you're going to see real growth and emergence of all these roles. The really large companies, it's not just a person, it's a team. So I'm seeing teams. ESB, one of the largest employers in Ireland, they have 7 full-time people on their team, at least last time I checked, and that was probably a year ago. They had 7. Bank of Ireland had 3 on their team, and not to mention any part-timers or well-being champions. This is full-time people. AIB will be something similar. And they are the larger employers. Smaller, so medium employers, probably it's one person. And then the smaller employers you're talking, it's probably a shared role. It's HR plus well-being plus CSR probably, plus a few other things. But I would say the huge advantage that the smaller companies have over the larger companies is it's so much easier to change or to embed a culture when you're small. It's just so much easier. So you probably know most people in the company. If you're smaller, you can have a much bigger impact. You can really affect change the smaller you are. So that's one of the advantages that smaller companies have. But there's definitely more opportunities at the moment with the larger organizations. And it's not just directly with the organizations, I should say, the role types. That's your direct employment. Also, the private health insurers now have lots of opportunity. Private health insurance is not just about private health insurance anymore. They all have well-being teams now. Like would have been corporate health teams in the past, but they're people that are dedicated to providing services and supports to their network of clients. So they're building a big team. So there's opportunities there. And then there's the dedicated service providers. So the likes of Spectrum Life, Zevo Health, they're quite big players. Pep Talk are there. Who else? You've got Mark O'Reilly doing great work at Fit Vision. So there's those kind of teams and companies are growing as well. You're very welcome, Donna. Thank you. So just a question from Sarah. Yeah, well, so I always say, so I think you can do almost everything I've said today, pretty much everything you can do without funding, without a budget. What you do need is time. No question. You do need time. And the more you want to do, then the more time you will need. You don't always need a huge amount of time from your senior leaders, but you definitely need their support. And you as the driver of this, and it's probably going to be the people on this call are going to be the drivers. You need the one with that bit of time. You can start small, but you're going to, over time, you can build up how much time you actually dedicate to this. And I'm going to come to it now in a moment, but my so the course, so the 8-step course for anyone that wants to dive deeper. In step 1, it's about the growing, committed and aligned leadership. And an output from that is, as well as that well-being vision statement, it's a business case for your well-being program, like your 1 year ahead program, say. That's also an output. But depending on where you're coming from, maybe you can tweak that to be not a business case for a program, but a business case for a role within your organization. You say, we need a well-being leader here. And here's why. And so you're following all the same steps, but you're not putting the business case together for the program. You're putting it together for the role, a dedicated role. And a few of the students have done that as well. What else? I'm seeing lots of comments here. I'm probably missing a few. Oh yeah, so just more on the roles from Sarah. At the moment, well, look, if you're an organizational psychologist, there's opportunities, of course, there. Certainly the remit, the vast majority at the moment still seems to be HR specific in terms of skill sets people are looking for. However, like, this area is so new. I mean, if you come to them with a qualification in workplace well-being, if you go to the interview, what are they going to be asking you? How are you going to implement the program? I've just given it to you here. I've given you your answer. I've given you your interview questions or answers here. Just whip out the 8-step framework there and talk them through it. Here's exactly how you would do it. It's done for you. So if you have a qualification in this area, any qualification, you're already ahead of even people in HR who very well intentioned, but they don't have a qualification in this area, unless, of course, they've done one of the very few postgrads. There's a postgrad in NUIG. There's a postgrad in Trinity, which is, we're not running it this year. We're running it again, hopefully next year, October 22. And then outside of that, if you're in the UK, there's a program in Nottingham. But there's nothing else really in this particular area in terms of qualifications. Yeah. Okay, if you're just saying you don't want it to get slick branded. Yeah, exactly. You got to get the real genuine purpose behind this and behind what you're doing. Okay, listen, guys, brilliant, great interaction there. I've probably missed one or two questions there, so apologies if I have. But I'm going to hang on afterwards anyway and chat to people if people have questions, and I'm sure we'll share some details afterwards. I just do want to. So for anyone interested in the course, in the 8-step course, I'm giving for the last time, a big discount on it, and I'm going to talk about it now in just one moment. Here's a couple of testimonials I just pulled out just in case you want to know more about the course and people that have gone through it. Here's Captain Paul Cullen. So, what I love about the framework is it's not industry specific. Paul is an airline pilot, and he's doing great work in the area of kind of pilot health. So he stepped through the program. He particularly likes I do an office hours. It's a half-hour call, just like a Zoom call where people can drop in when they want to chat. This is on top of the online content. It's all self-paced. So that's Paul. Helen, I only noticed there just before I came on, I picked 2 aviation-related testimonials, even though they're completely unrelated. Helen is the head of Wellbeing for the DAA. So that's all the ground staff, if you like. So she's done it. She's working through it methodically. And Helen actually went through the program really, really quickly, and now is kind of stepping back through it slowly because it's there kind of for her to step back through. She doesn't lose access because she just went through it quickly. So she's stepping through it methodically now. And again, Helen's great for the office hours. She often joins in on our weekly chat just to ask a question or just to stay up to speed. So listen, I'm going to finish up very quickly. I'm conscious of all your time. Why should you join the 8 steps? Why should you dive deeper on this? I've given you a lot today, right? And that's all really good. You can go off and do that yourself. Why would you join the course? Why would you want to dive deeper then? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Okay, well, number one, you get instant access. So you can join, like, pretty much start in 5 minutes time. The office hours, which is really popular. That's my half-hour call every single week where you just get chat to me if you want. Some people drop in once a year. Some people drop in every week. It's up to you how often you want to drop in for a chat, or you've got a question. We can do that. You can meet other people on it as well here on the course. So this is an individual qualification. I think this is big. We've just been talking about kind of the roles that are emerging. All the other qualifications out there, let's say the Keep Well mark, great qualification, a healthy place to work, great place to work, all for the workplace, all for the organization. Whereas here, what we're talking about here, this is your individual qualification that follows you around. When you move job, you don't lose the qualification. It comes with you. That learning that comes with you. You'll get a certificate of completion when you finish from the Work Well Institute. probably should have put this up higher, but you got the entire course. It's all online. It's there. It's self-paced, and I've invested in a really good platform. So you drop in and out. It tracks exactly where you are. You step through it at your pace. It's video content. There's PDFs. There's all the reading if you want to do the extra reading that you can do as well. And there's kind of quizzes to keep you sharp too. I've done a bit extra here. I've got a nice bonus for you. I'm a recovering project manager. So this is a big help to me, right? If I was doing this, you might be familiar with Trello. It's just like an online project management platform, but I've pretty much covered out, right? Eight steps are all done out with checklists for each of the 8 steps. So you get a copy of this if you sign up. So all you got to do is step through it, plug in your own company details as you walk through it, checklists, all that kind of stuff. It's all there for you. It's a really nice extra feature for the course. Oh, and just a small matter of €400 off for the last time. So I've started working with a brand new marketing agency. They told me, what are you doing? Why are you selling that course for €397? You need to double the price of it. So they've given me one last week. It's only 1 week. They're allowing me 1 week to keep it open at $397. Then it goes up to $797. So your last week to be able to do that. I'll just summarize very quickly. If you sign up, you get the course and you get the bonuses then as well. And for the last time, for 1 week only, €400 discount. So there it is. I'm going to share there's the jacket. The jacket made a reappearance. Okay, so it did make an appearance. I'm going to share through the links beyond my profiles on LinkedIn, Insta, the landing page as well. I think everyone will probably share. Anyone who registered will send you on the details as well. But here, if you want to jump ahead and go to workwellinstitute.org, go to the 8-step course. There is your discount code. It's last time. It absolutely is the last time I'm going to run it. So go to workwellinstitute.org. Use that, the 8 steps to embed a culture of health, and you can use that discount code last time, and that's you sorted then. And you can join our office hours calls straight away. You get instant access to all the material. And yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions people have. I'm going to stay on the line, so if anyone has any questions, want to pop in the chat, I'm going to check the chat now as well. So let me see some questions coming in. So Donna, let me just see what's Donna asking here. Is it best to have a HR qualification, particularly if applying for a role in a larger company? At the moment, it certainly is. I would say at the moment, because it's just again, it's so new. It's just that understanding at the moment is that this is a HR function, and it absolutely doesn't have to be. It's, as I keep saying, it should be a shared ownership. AAB, another bad example, actually. Their well-being leader, as I understand it, doesn't sit under the HR team. Maybe one of them does, but certainly the head of the Wellbeing Champion Network, Tony Nestor, she's in customer service. In fact, I think she's the head of customer service. So she's at a very senior role in her day job, if you like, but she also takes wellbeing very seriously. And she is the head of the Wellbeing Champion Network in AIB now. And it's a serious network. I think they have 120 champions. So Tony is not from a HR background. If you're applying for a role in a big company, it's just the understanding at the moment. But look, I think that is changing. LinkedIn, actually, an interesting example. LinkedIn had it was a girl, Ursula, I better not mention her name just in case, but she was delivering kind of physical activity classes. She was very engaging, excellent kind of quality service being offered. She was contracted in to manage the gym almost. And they just really liked her. They offered her the role of the wellbeing leader within LinkedIn. So now she's broadened her skill set. There's a podcast she runs in there. And just other broadening in the area of mental health as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be HR, but I think we're transitioning away from that because currently there's just still that kind of understanding in a lot of companies, but not all, that it is a HR role. Thanks so much, Aoife. I just thought I'd come in there. That's right. Aoife did the postgrad in, we just finished the postgrad there. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Aoife. 2020. She mentioned it was 2020, wasn't it? That was a bit of a whirlwind of a year. Yeah, thanks, guys. I'm just seeing some comments. Oh, fair play. I think Peter's just put up the post. Thanks so much, Peter. Haven't spoken to you in a while, Peter. Hope you're well. Thanks, Christy, and thanks. And so let's see. I've just got. Well, this is great, guys. Great questions coming in. So Sarah just did the TCD. So yeah, there's detail now. As I mentioned, we were not running it this year, unfortunately. The plan is to look at 2022 in September, October. How many places? So last time out, we had 42 places. Probably something similar. Now, unfortunately, it was extremely popular. We had 4-to-1 applications per place. So it was there was a strict criteria. Trinity managed, well, needless to say, managed the application process, and they have a 5-star rating. So, if you have a degree in a wellbeing related field, that's a star. If you have experience in a wellbeing related field, that's a star. So you build up your kind of star rating. I'm sure they might be able to share details with you. But like I said, you're probably talking at least a year before that comes around again, unfortunately. Oh, Sarah, just as another point here. Oh, yes, I remember. So interesting, AIB, I remember Tony was talking about this, so that they've actually gone ahead and done it, have they? Yeah, they're including well-being into your kind of your end of year reviews. Excellent. Yeah, I think so too. If it's essential, there's examples of companies in the US doing this. For line managers, they might have, let's say, 10% of your kind of end of year review as a manager is based on the well-being of your team. So they have a tracker for a well-being score. So is the well-being of your team are meeting a certain target year on year, and is that improving year on year? So I think that's the future, to be honest. There'll be a well-being element. It needs to be done properly, but I think that's going to be something we'll see a lot more of in the future. The countdown has started. Oh, cool. Great. Thanks, Peter. Glad you enjoyed it. I think Moasir's doing a bit of work with me there. So thanks, Moasir, for sharing that. How to embed it. Yeah. Let's see. I've still got more messages coming in. This is great. Well, you're welcome, Donna. I'm starting to eat into people's lunchtime, which I know is never a good thing. But thanks so much to everybody for staying on. If you do have any final questions, or if I've missed any, please let me know. Yeah, Aoife, you too. Hope to see you soon. Let's get that reunion going, a proper in-person reunion. We can head to the PAV. We can head to that. We were talking about that for a while. It never came to pass. Well, thanks so much, guys. Listen, I really appreciate everyone who's joined today and all the comments and feedback. If you enjoyed it, share with your colleagues. Tell all your colleagues about it. Tell your friends. And I would, love to see you again soon. I'll hang on for just one more minute. So if anyone has any final questions, they can let me know. Just going to scroll through in case I missed anything. Don't think I've missed anything, have I? Oh, Linda asking, is it only for big companies? No, absolutely not. Are the slides available? Yeah, I'm sure we can make the slides available. Might see if we can get an email out afterwards for anyone that registered. And just in case you don't see that come through, Sarah, let me know, and I will. I'll get that out there. I'm sure we should be able to arrange that, though. Oh, Peter, what are you talking about there? Peter just talking about a shameless plug for standards. Is this ISO 45003? Is it? I think that might be what Peter's talking about. I'm one step ahead of you there, Peter. I've got an article on that up on the website in workwellireland.ie. So yeah, ISO 45003 is fantastic. It's the first global standard for psychological health and well-being in the workplace. So it's like a how-to guide for organizations. Now, you might argue that's, yeah, okay, yeah, so it is the one Peter's talking about. You might argue that that is an intervention in and of itself, or at least I would. But it's no, that would be it's a huge intervention, because that is effectively, it's a how-to guide, how to implement a psychologically safe work environment, and it's done from a health and safety perspective. So it's like risk assessments. It's really good. It's excellent. I've got a good article on it out there. I might share that. Might include that in the link if we can, with the that goes out with this. Which, yeah, Peter, I agree with you there. Hopefully that can be like a bit of a game changer for some organizations. Brilliant, guys. Will we go and get some lunch? Will we? I've kept you long enough, I think. Listen, thanks so much, everybody. Really appreciate it. Check out all the links. We'll share with you. That course is only open for 1 week only, as they say. When it's gone, it's gone. And yeah, so sign up and tell your friends. And I agree with you just on Peter. Yeah, ISO 45003, absolutely. Realistically, that's for larger organizations, because that is a significant effort there. Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a lovely lunch. Have a brilliant day. Have a fantastic weekend. A healthy lunch. That's it, Peter. Have a healthy lunch. And listen, it's a bank holiday weekend, so lots of reasons to be cheerful. Take care, guys.